Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. Have you ever felt like an imposter in your leadership? Do you feel like your outside world doesn't match your inner world? We got a show for you, so hang tight. We've got a great episode with Ofri Fuchs. All right, Giants, welcome back to another great episode of Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Nicholas Smith, author of The Giants and the Smalls, The Adventure of Remy and Rit, the thing that started all of this, The Tortoise's Hair, The Art of Accomplishment. And our newest creation that just came out is the Giants Journal, which you can get now on Amazon, which is awesome. First 20 pages teach you how to journal appropriately, and then it just gives you a blank set of pages so that you can start to write your life in the way that you want to write it. Um, as far as housekeeping goes, we do have an event coming up on September 20th. We're gonna launch SG17, which is our 17th cohort of the Sum Gigante program. So this is a human-centric approach to human behavior. So what we're going to do is rewrite your narrative in your operating system, but we also use, and I'll share here, AI to augment that experience. So we've developed tools and notebook LM modules to help you dive deeper into each of the 12 journeys so that you can learn each one at the deepest level possible. I'm a nerd when it comes to words and research, and so I wanted to make sure that I provided everything you needed to go as deep as you want to go. In addition to that, we have all of your documentation built out for you, access to every one of our videos. We have over 800 uploads on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed to YouTube, go there and hit the subscribe button so you can see when we go live every single dang time. And then we've built out custom GPTs and AI applications to support you in your Giants journey. So our goal isn't just to teach you something, it's to transform how you see yourself from the inside out, which I think ties perfectly into what we're going to be talking about today. And so I want to take a minute and introduce our guest. We're on the line with Ofri Fuchs. And so we're diving into a challenge that almost every leader, entrepreneur, and professional faces at some point: imposter syndrome. So many people feel like they're faking it, like they don't truly belong in the role they're in. But what if the key to real influence and confidence wasn't about appearances or performance, but about authentic presence? Our guest today, Ofri Fuchs, is a powerful presence coach, international speaker, and founder of Powerful Presence International Leadership. She helps leaders step into authenticity, lead with clarity, and overcome self doubt without the mask of performance. She's also the leader of the Being IL movement in Israel and has translated two transformative books, The Ultimate Coach and The Giants and the Smalls, into Hebrew. So get ready to discover how to overcome imposter syndrome and step fully into the leader you were meant to be. Please join me in giving a massive welcome to Ofri Fuchs. Good to see you here.
So good to be here, live from Alaska.
Live from Alaska, you can hear the birds in the background.
Yeah, this is not a backdrop with
No
special
green screen.
effects. No green screen, no AI, all authentic.
I love it. I love it. In the age of AI, that authenticity is going to matter more and more. And
Oh,
our goal is to not replace humans ever,
yes.
but to augment what we do using AI as a tool. So that was a nice
Humanity is going
segue.
to be a commodity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
humanity is, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. That's going to be,
Well,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm good. We're going to dive into leadership and how, I really love to go back um, to your journey and where it all began. So when we go through the 12 journeys, the first six journeys are all about the inner world. And when we're talking about imposter syndrome, that's where it begins. Um, the word identity, if you look at the etymology of it, means the same as. And so when our inner world aligns with our outer world, then our identity is intact. And when there's a dissonance between those two, then it's not. And my question for you is, going back into your identity, of who you thought you were at some point, and then stepping into your new role. What woke you up to who you were being, and how did you go from that to this? And we'll cover all of it as we go forward here.
That's such a good question. Because, and I don't know if a lot of people share what I've been through or what I've gone through, but I'm noticing it more and more, and especially today and with social media, um, because I felt growing up that I didn't have an identity because everything was external.
Mm,
So, and the gap was that you can't see me here, but I'm 5'10". I have this big presence. You know, speaking about powerful presence, I have this powerful presence, but I felt like I wasn't present at all. I didn't know who I was. I felt completely empty from the inside. So it was always an external look at what other people were doing, and
mm,
said about the similarity, or being aligned with the external and the internal. For me, it was like, what are they doing and how could it be more like them? So jealousy was a very, very big part. It was like my best friend. It was always with me throughout my life because I felt completely void and terrified that, if anybody, if a friend, even like a girlfriend or a partner, would get to know me, they would get to know that I'm actually, like, all this is, nice shiny object, but inside it's empty.
mm.
So you walk around and you're walking very much on the surface because you don't want to create intimate relationships. You don't want anyone to get to know you because there's nothing to get to know.
They
And
might find out that you're just empty on the inside.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
So the imposter syndrome was even just the fact that, this is like a shell. It's completely empty. And that to me, was, as big as I am, and I'm a pretty big, tall girl, but I felt so small
Mm,
and really, really terrified. And the gap of trying to perform externally, because it's like someone really like basketball players. You can't not notice them when they walk
right.
into a room, but you don't know what they're going through inside, and then all of a sudden this little boy inside that just wants to hide. They can't hide, so you have to kind of compensate that gap somehow.
Mm,
So for me, it was, I actually started as an actress, and that really fit the mold of trying to be somebody else. So who can I be? Who can I please? And I remember a cute little story. I was in San Francisco at the time. I was trying to be an actress, and I was, I had an air mattress and a boombox. That's all I had in this big empty flat. And I thought to myself, why am I doing this? Like, why am I really acting? What is it that's driving me? It's not the audience. I don't need the applause. I don't need the big stage. And I realized that what I really love is pleasing the director.
mm.
I really loved the rehearsal. I really loved, like, what do you want? Let me go get it for you.
Holy cow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's hang here. So
Yeah.
the idea, what I'm hearing in this is that because everything was so external, and for many
Hmm.
people that's the case, is they have an external locus of control, external locus of identity. That means all the energy is out there. So when it comes to acting, I mean, what a great fit because you're acting anyway, right? And so you find out that, hey, I'm pretty good at this. This is something I could do. And so you start performing to please, right?
Yeah.
Can you
Hmm.
go a little further there?
Yeah. And everything I've done, I've been looking for that thing that will connect. So from acting, I went to producing, which was the exact same thing, right? I was
Mm,
like, I was
holy cow, yeah.
working in Hollywood. I was executing, and I was really happy when I got a good job, Ofri. You got, what we needed. So that made me feel fulfilled and complete, and like I'm doing something for somebody else. And that wasn't really it. So I went on and I kept learning and studying. So I studied acting my whole life. I had a teacher that said, stop being a professional student. So I studied for like 10 years acting, various forms, Shakespeare, improv, Meisner, Chavik, on camera. I studied it all.
Holy
And
cow.
then I
Yeah.
did producing. So I moved up the ladder from a little PA to a production coordinator and a second AD in the movies and the film industry. Then I went on to study law. And then I went on to be a mediator. And then I went on to be a Pilates instructor. And then I went on to be a healer. So I kept looking in all
Holy
these
cow.
little places
Yeah.
and breaking down because nothing clicked. Nothing was like, this is me. It was all like, maybe that thing will make me feel whole. Maybe that thing will make me feel worthy.
Yeah.
So I went to get a law degree at the age of 35 because I felt, you know what, I never done the degree thing. I'm just going to be smart now. Now I'm smart. Let me be the smart girl. And that didn't last for very long.
So the stacking things on, let's talk about identity for a minute and what that is, because during development, when we're becoming whatever it is that, the world wants us to be, during those first 7 years, those formative years, we don't really get rid of anything. And so we tend to be whatever is programmed into us based on our environment. So for those first 7 years, we're taking it all in, and that's who we become. And then from age 7 to 13, we kind of narrow out and prune the things that aren't serving us. And that's where we start to form our own identity, right? And then from 7 to 25, then we really anchor in and we start to um, really become a certain way in the world. Now, it's not set in stone. By age 25, we can still change that. We have plasticity through our life. But your identity, as I look at that, was designed for everybody else. So whatever they wanted, you became. Is that accurate? We might have a little bit of a technical challenge here.
You're
So
back.
I'm going to let me know what you heard there, because we got a little bit of a lag on the
Yeah,
technology.
just the last part I missed, which is after the age of 25.
So from age 25 on, we really start to hone in our identity. And if you haven't really landed on who you are, then like you start to do all the things that the world taught you should do. But then you find out that that's empty, right?
Yeah, yeah. So um, I think I had this very late maturity phase. So
Mm,
puberty hit when I was about 25. And so everything was really, really late. I had kids at a very late age. Relationship came late for me. So I know the theory, and I'm looking back at my childhood. I was like, I can't really see how I made the shift or what it was. It was just this nothingness.
mm,
And there was actually, I'll share this, but a really, there was a long time of a long period of depression, basically. And a lot of self-sabotage and a lot of like, um, I was anorexic and I went through a couple of things. But there was a moment in time where I wanted to take my life because I felt like I have no life. And I remember sitting on the couch in my mom's living room and bawling. I was crying for like 2 months. And I looked towards the living room and I saw almost my future self.
mm,
And I realized there is no way that what I'm feeling right now is going to last forever. Like, unless of course, I take my life. But if I am not, then something is going to change at some point. And my 40-year-old self is really curious to see what happened and what created that shift.
mm.
And it was almost like a moment where I decided to stick around to realize how I can untangle whatever it is that I'm going through. And basically, I think that's when I started my whole personal development journey
Wow.
and
Okay.
started doing the inner work.
Yeah. And so you were at the point that you could see yourself beyond what was.
Yeah.
So, I want to hit on anxiety and depression because this is important for people to know is that when we feel anxious, Lisa Feldman Barrett, one of the top researchers on emotion, says that we feel anxious when we're not living up to the ideals we think others have for us. And we
Oh, wow.
feel depressed when we feel like we're not living up to our own ideals. And so all these things that we picture, but when you have an unstable sense of self and then you measure yourself against something you think you should be, then you're always going to feel like you're never measuring up. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
s- and
And,
so in
mhm.
in your case, right? So you're feeling depressed to the point of wanting to take your own life, and then you get a glimpse of a future that you haven't lived yet, and you're like, this isn't it. Like I haven't created that yet. So it anchored you in immediately. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Yeah. There was a
Yeah.
curiosity there to see what else is possible. Um, in the most, let's just, I can always take my life.
Mm,
So why not today? And so there was like, if I don't do this today, what can I create to get to that 40-year-old self looking back?
yeah.
And and so that was one really really important moment in my life where it was like a shift, and when I really started to go into like self development and start reading the books and started to see what else is out there and how to think differently.
Yeah.
um and then cut to, and I still went on to search and try to do the acting thing and the producing thing and the lawyer thing, and cut to 20 years later where I still wasn't anchored and I still wasn't finding myself and I still didn't feel a sense of purpose and knowing who I am. I'm like, this isn't it. This isn't it. And in that moment, sitting on something, these epiphanies happen in my living rooms all the time. So
Yeah.
sitting in the
Yeah.
living room, this time on the floor, um, and I realized, what if I didn't have history? What if I didn't
Mm,
have baggage? Who could I be if I could just have a clean slate and make myself up? Kind of like acting.
yes.
What character can I make up right now? And I started exploring all, because I've done so much therapy and so much healing work and so much history cleaning. And I was like, this is not working. There's always more to dig up, right? And then what if I didn't have to dig up stuff? What if I could just go poof, make it up?
Mm,
And then I started exploring other methodologies, sorry, um,
yeah. It's
that
the
are,
same idea.
yeah,
Mythology and
right,
methodology. It's all made up.
right.
Yeah.
And where you just create, you don't look
Mm,
back, you look forward.
beautiful. Now, there is the element of some of these traumas and old wounds and patterns are still there. So when the brain wires that in, we still do what we've always done. But when you put your focus forward, like you're saying, eventually that's going to be your default way of being as you practice it. But
Yeah,
when the things come up, what I got caught in was trying to process everything. And if you think about the power of the brain, it can hold the internet twice. I mean, that's how big the brain is you could store everything on the internet twice. So you could literally spend your whole life processing the past and never touch even close to what all is in there. Right.
wow,
And so
that's
to instead of trying to get rid of the old pathways like you're saying, why not just create the new? I saw this comment here of finding my new me is such a challenge. The challenge is in the word finding. There's no
mm,
finding here. Like you said, if I can produce a play or a movie or a show, then I can produce my life. There's no finding my life. It's a creation. I'm just going to speak it, act it, be it until it is who I am. And then your identity starts to match from the inner world to the outer. And now your identity's stable because both are the same. Can you speak to that?
yeah. I think like any learning skill, we
Mm.
don't realize, like I keep saying, like riding a bicycle, right? As children, especially as children, they don't think as I have to create walking.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
take it one step, and they have this really deep focus.
Yeah.
I don't remember. You have a better memory than I do. You probably remember who talked about. I think it was Michael Neal that talked about the child with the shiny object. Um, that
Mm.
if you have a child, a toddler, and they're sitting on the floor, they're barely crawling and definitely not walking, and they see these the keys right on the top shelf, and they're
Mm.
this little shiny object, and they're like, huh, huh, and they don't know how they're going to get there. They have this inner drive, and they start crawling forward, and their body just follows because they have this order. I need to go to the shiny object, and then they get to the nearest grown up, and they start climbing and kind of standing, holding on, and the grown up is like, huh, what? Oh, you want this? And all of a sudden, from the sky, this shiny object appears,
Uh,
and so it's a matter of just choosing where you want to go and reminding yourself that this is where you want to go, and you don't know. And this goes into quantum physics and laws of the universe, which I love, but you don't know how the world is going to confirm your new choice
right.
just because you stick to it. And I find that miraculous. Like when I look at myself now, I look at that girl that was sitting there, and I can empathize with her. I know what she went through. I don't feel it. And I don't know how, like, what system, what, like, neurological and nervous system went on there that I felt
Mm.
it. So I can see her. I don't feel her. I feel for
Mm.
her. I don't feel her
Yeah.
anymore in my system. I'm a new person.
Yeah. Yeah. This is amazing because our identity is evolving. It's never, if I were the same person I was at 2 years old, we wouldn't be on this show. There's no way, right? So
It would
that
be a whole different show.
it would be a whole different, yeah, we would be talking baby language or something. But that evolution of the identity evolves based on our environment, so it's reciprocal in nature. It's like we're feeding into our environment and our environment is feeding into us, and it's easy to get stuck in an identity that is directly tied to our external environment. So we see out here and we think that's us, and so we take that on.
Mhm.
But then when you start to fill the gap between who you are on the inside and who you think you're supposed to be, that's why so many of us are anxious, is because we're trying to measure up to some social ideal that was created for us without really diving into what do I want to create in this world, like you did.
Right.
If I want
Right.
the shiny object, I want to go create being with that shiny object. And I love that you hit on the surrender portion, as you don't know the mechanics behind how you're going to get that. You just know it's yours, right?
Yeah, I think, and also I'll just say
Hmm.
that if any, I'm sure you follow Joe Dispenza's work. Um, he talks about all the time that we're just waking up, with giants, but we're waking up and we're reminding ourselves how small we are. So
Mm.
we're constantly reminding ourselves of our old way of being,
We
instead
have
of
to.
consciously waking up and reminding ourselves who we choose to be.
Yeah. See, I want to bring this
Yeah.
quote back up. That is so powerful right there. Is we're when we bring up a memory, research shows that the moment we bring up a memory, we rewrite it and then we restore it. So it's never the original memory. So essentially, every morning when we get up and we reaffirm our story, we're rewriting the same story over and over and putting it back in and then practicing from that. And what you're offering here is, don't do that. You don't have to repeat the old pattern, and it's not a true story anyway, because every time you bring up a memory, it gets changed. So if you have the ability to write in a new direction, which is what we're doing, we're narrating and we're acting in a new direction until it becomes our way of being. This idea right here, accepting this new me, is almost impossible. The acceptance is just acknowledging that you have that in you, and it's okay that
Mm,
your life was what it was, but you're not. you're not locked into the old patterns. You don't have to stay there. You can change the story, right? And it's okay that you have the old feelings. You don't have to get rid of those to create something new. Is that how you see it?
Yeah.
Can you dive into that? And we got such a lag here. It's a little bit hard on the
Yeah,
video is way
I
off,
see
but
it. I
go
mean, a
ahead.
lot of people think
Yeah.
that creating yourself. Yeah, I'm noticing. Um, can you hear
The
me now?
creating
Am I
yeah.
okay?
Yep, you're good. So we can hear your voice. I can hear your voice perfect. So
Are we
we'll go
good?
with that. Yep. Let me know
Okay.
when you're back. So the idea of
Okay.
creating yourself.
So I think a lot of people, and myself included, right? And
Hmm.
I still do. Yeah. So a lot of people, and myself included, have this idea that creating yourself is different than any other muscle.
Mm,
So it's different than going to the gym, and it really isn't. So I don't have to think of myself as as a supreme athlete or as a marathon runner. I just have to choose to be so. And the only thing I need to do is wake up in the morning and go to the gym. And that's the hard part because
mm,
we can't see the end result, but we have to know. And we know that if I stick to this regime, there's a system. If I stick to this regiment, then
mm,
I will get results.
mm.
It's impossible not to. This is, scientific. This is how the body works. I eat a certain way, I work out a certain way, I work that muscle, the muscle gets stronger. The muscle
Right.
gets stronger also with tearing, right? It's painful sometimes. You have to
Correct. Yeah.
push through, like
Right.
the boundaries are limiting beliefs or limiting, abilities at the moment. But it's just being consistent.
Mm. Yeah. Are you okay if I nerd out a little
Are we
bit?
good?
Yep. I'm gonna nerd out on the brain and how it works because I think this ties
Yeah,
in.
I love when you nerd out.
So looking at the brain, the brain's job is to regulate energy. That's it. It's to regulate energy and to take whatever sensory information comes in and interpret that and predict what's going to happen next and then create from that. So the brain is designed to conserve energy. And if you think about it, it's 2% of the body mass, but it consumes 20% of the body's glucose stores. So energy, it's burning it up at a resting state. So anytime you go to do something new, your brain just goes into chaos thinking, we're going to lose energy here. This is inefficient. I don't want to do this. And it's going to pursue homeostasis or laziness, as we say, for efficiency. So when we go to do something new, it is very
I'm having a
costly
really hard time hearing. Is it on my end?
energetically. Yeah, I think it is. I think it seems like you're on a cell phone signal there. And so there's a pretty good delay here. Let me know when you're caught up there. I appreciate these comments. I'm going to
Mm-mm.
speak to this.
Can you guys?
So let me have you log off and log back in, Ofri. Okay, Celeste. So I have 100%
Okay, I'm
faith I'll
not
get
seeing
to where I
something.
want to be. My business will take off, but my challenge is keeping that mindset. I'm not at the end result. It seems to be taking so long. Yeah, and it does. It takes persistence and consistency because the brain, once it automates something, it's very efficient. But until it automates it, it's very costly. It takes a lot of energy and effort, and it takes time for that to be automated. So it can take anywhere from 18 to 258 days. So, Offer, you're back here, but I may have you jump off and jump back in. Your signal is cut. And so Celeste, just speaking to that, we're not responsible for the how, the mechanics, and we're not responsible for the timing, but we are responsible for the repetition of activity long enough for it to become automated And it's in that automation that the brain takes over and conserves energy, because it'll take that hard thing and now make it automated. So now it becomes your identity. I hope that makes sense to you. So the more you do something, Offer, you're back, but you keep going in and out. I'm going to go ahead and remove her here from the stage for a minute. So Celeste, let me know if that helps you, if you want to comment on that. And give me 1 second here, guys. Sometimes the technical challenges are just a sign that we've got a great show going. So, okay, she's going to jump off and jump back in. But I'd love to hear in the comments what you hear in that, because when you are starting something new and you're creating yourself from what you used to be, your old patterns, whatever those were, you're not trying to get rid of those. You're allowing those to be present, which is the acceptance piece, while simultaneously creating a new pathway and a new way of being. And so, as you practice that new way of being, it takes time for the brain to calibrate and catch up with that. So, it's going to be very inefficient in the beginning and then move toward efficiency as you move forward there. And so as soon as you hit efficiency or automation, which is the goal of everything, then it will take over and become your driving force. So let me just pull this. I've been working for 5 years, learned so much. How do I climb upward? I feel like I've leveled off and I'm stationary. I'm waiting for that next step. I feel like I've gone as far as I can. So this is a great question. Um, this is all a creation. So the first thing I would do if I was in your situation is acknowledge and accept where you are, not as a resignation, but just acknowledge where you are without losing yourself to it. And then the next question to ask, and the power of questions is this: when you open up a loop in your brain, it can't help but answer that question. So the questions you're going to ask are very powerful. What would I like to create versus why am I stuck? Right? If you ask the question, why am I stuck? The brain's going to go to work and then give you the answers to why you're stuck. Okay. If you ask the question, what would I like to create? How could I create that? Then you'll be able to start to build yourself in a new way. The brain will go to work in figuring out how to create that. So there's an effect called the Zeigarnik effect, which is essentially that when the brain opens a loop, it can't take its energy or attention off of that until that loop is closed. So questions are very powerful at getting you to move in a new direction. So I always start with vision: is where would you like to go from here? And if you can't see it, start asking the question, where would I like to go from here? Let's see if this works. Can you hear me all right, Ofri? Can you hear me there? Are you back? Huh?
Oh my gosh. I'm
Yeah,
back. Are you?
yeah. I think the
I
signal
felt I,
just
I
got,
felt a little bit of anxiety there.
yeah, good, good. That's normal, right? So we were just, Celeste was asking this
Right,
question.
we
I'm
were
going to,
talking about anxiety. There we go.
so it's a part of it. Things don't always go the way we want them to go, you know? So I would love your thoughts on this. I just shared that when you're starting something new, if you don't know where you're going, the first thing to do is start with the question, what would I like to create? And start with some kind of vision. And if you don't know, that question will start the brain into a loop of looking for what you would like to create next. Right? Do you have some thoughts on that for her?
Let me just get this straight. So if you want to start creating,
Yeah, so she feels
then
stuck.
the image, is she talking about the image of what you want to create when you start creating? Is that it?
Yeah, are you able to see the screen?
Yeah, I've been working for 5 years and learned so much. How do I climb upward? I feel like I have leveled. I'm stationary. I'm waiting for that next step. I feel like I've gone as far. That's a great question. Um, there's a thing in the. I feel like the universe needs to step and make things happen. The universe is stepping up. because consistency, again, if we go back to the imagery of working out or anything, you hit a plateau, but it's like the bamboo shoot, right?
Mm.
There's this the time it takes where you plant the seed and they grow and they grow and the roots get stronger, and all of a sudden there's this burst of growth. So it's just a reminder that things, if you look back in your life, Celeste, and remember like different instances and occurrences where you didn't know where it's going to come from, and all of a sudden like there's a flood of opportunities and things that happen and things that grow. So the key thing here that I find is not having the resistance of expectation, not having the resistance of anticipation,
Mm.
because if you are in need, then that need is resistance, right? If you keep waiting for, I've done all this, now it's your time to pay up,
Mm.
then the authentic is lacking. So I don't know exactly what Celeste is doing in her life or what she practices is, but I will just say persevere. Just keep going and explore if there's anywhere that we can step up our game. So if I'm getting the same results, then I will ask myself, who do I know? What can I do different? What can I learn? Or, how can I expand the way I'm being, the way I'm seeing my new creative self,
Mm.
and go be that and go do that.
I want to
I hope
throw
that
another
came. So
spin on this because a
I
lot of
lost
people,
Nick, but I hope Celeste, did you get that?
yeah, it came through over here. So Emily Dickinson wasn't discovered until 90 years after she had passed away. Vincent van Gogh never sold a single piece. I think he sold one piece of art during his lifetime, and the rest of it happened after. So would you continue to create? If you think of the olive tree, the person that plants the olive seed won't see it germinate. It takes about 65 to 70 years for that seed to germinate. And then it goes on to live thousands of years. And so sometimes some of our creations, we see immediate results. Sometimes they grow underground like the bamboo and go fast. Sometimes we don't see the results in our lifetime. But are we willing to step into it anyway? And the challenge is if you don't know where you're going, then you're putting energy into something, but there's no clear direction of where do you want to take that energy. So the start point really is what kind of seed would you like to plant? And if you don't know, start with that question of what kind of seed would I like to plant? And let your brain go to work and start looking at things that might be interesting to you. Did you catch that, Ofri?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I want to share a little quick story. And if I lose you again, I'm going to try to go to my phone and see maybe that has
you
a
bet.
better reception. But I, I I've translated the book. There's a book called The Ultimate Coach, and I don't know if you mentioned it on your show, by Steve Hardison, and Steve is the ultimate coach, and he lives in Arizona. And when I read his book, I had this deep desire to go and translate the book. And
Mm.
oh, did I lose? Did I lose
We're
the
still
camera?
here.
No,
We're still here. Yeah.
we have. Okay,
Yeah, let's
I'm
go to
gonna
your
try to
phone,
connect this again.
Ofri.
Um, yeah, I think I have.
Yeah, will
It's a
you switch to
technical
your
day.
phone?
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go. There we go. Connecting to my phone now.
There we go.
Well,
Yeah, and Celeste, working as a CT tech, moving into the fashion industry, so positive. This is where my future is. Is it is the stall or plateau that is making this difficult? Yeah, and those are the times to keep stepping. So I work full time too. I don't know if you knew this, but I work full
mm,
time while pursuing my dreams. So I always have, and it takes it takes time either way. There's no guarantee that it's going to output the way I want it to in a certain time frame. So I have a stable income that I use to allow me to build my dream. So when it becomes a have to do, then it becomes really difficult because then we're coming from a stress state in that creation. Um, and I let's see and believe the deepness. Yeah, thank you for that. So don't stop moving in towards your dream or vision just because it's not happening in your time frame. This is where we feel depression or anxiety, is when we have our life as it is and our ideal, then all suffering is created in the gap between what we think should be and what is. And that includes the time frame of it and how it comes about. We think what we do should create this, and it should happen in our time frame, and when it doesn't, we feel depressed or we feel anxious in this gap. And so the challenge here is to keep going. Now, if you can move your behavior in a new direction that would be healthy or help you grow that, then look for that. So that would be the thing to do. There we go. I think we need to go with the cell phone on this.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
All
Good. Good.
right.
Good.
Yeah, go ahead and shut off the computer if you would, so there's no echo.
Yeah. I'm gonna turn this off.
Yep.
So,
There you are.
there we go. All
Yep.
right. Oh,
Now
much
we're
better.
like right on time.
All right. So, woo. We should start over. Okay. So my little story about Steve, and this goes to Celeste as well, is that I read his book, an immediate book, and I wanted to, an amazing book, and I really wanted to translate it. And I wrote him that I wrote him, I asked him a question, and can I ask for your permission to translate the book? He said yes. When I started reading the book, I was so overwhelmed with emotion that I wrote him again, and I said, I will come and basically work with you. And at that point in time, there was no way. He costs a lot of money. He lives way out in Arizona, miles and miles. I was with my two little kids. It was 3 years ago. But I wrote it down for him and I let it go. I literally set it and forget it, because there was no logical way that I'm actually going to be working with this guy or seeing him in person in Arizona. And cut to 3 years later, it just happened that I was going on this amazing road trip. This is why the reception is so bad, by the way. I'm in Alaska. There's bad internet. And I'm in an RV park. And I went with my family on an RV trip for 6 months. And we started out in Arizona. I just happened to buy the RV in Arizona. I was like, well, I can't not come and visit Steve. And that gave me the motivation to finish the book, which took me way too long to do. So I for months, I just sat and crammed because I wanted to have a book in hand. And all that came to play. And I could have not planned it. If you give me $1 million of there's no way that's going to happen. So part of it, and this is for, Celeste and everyone, is we really, really, really don't know how miraculous this universe can be if we just have this really deep intention. And this goes to, the quantum physics, the law of resonance, where you just sent out something big into the universe with a huge emotion. And the thing was, there was no resistance because it was so crazy that it wasn't like, oh, I need this to happen. I just really thought it would be so cool if that would happen. And I just forgot about it. And then cut to, I'm hugging Steve in his office.
Beautiful. So I want to speak to this a little bit. Okay. The idea that when we attach to what it is we want to create, our challenge as humans is now we think we have to do it. Right. And we think it has to go the way we want it to. And so people are afraid to attach to some dream because what if you didn't get it? And then that affects their identity because what they said on the outside isn't aligned with what's going on in the inside. And what if people found out that that was the case, right? Why would I set a dream if I don't think I can get it, right? And so we hold off on creating a vision because we don't think we can do it, or we don't know how we'll do it, or we want it to happen in a certain time frame. and then it doesn't, and then we're really hard on ourselves over that whole thing because now it became part of our identity. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, I think the time frame is really first of all, I see that so many people when they sit down with their goals and in this year I'm going to do this, that, and the other.
Right.
They set a financial goal and they don't get it. That is really discouraging. So the one thing that I will encourage people is not to do any time frame,
Yes.
because that's not how the universe works. It's not. The intention can collapse time if you're
Mm.
setting a strong enough intention. But then the last part is that I will say to this is that you don't, it's like you don't take the ingredients for a cake. You don't sit on the couch saying, I want to make chocolate cake, and you go into the fridge and you get out all the ingredients and you lay it out on the counter and you just say, well, it's not working. There's doing, and then there's being. There's the
Yeah.
intention, I'm going to make
Yeah.
a chocolate cake, and then there's the doing. And a lot of people fall short and they sit it around and like, oh, I saw The Secret and I know the law of attraction, and I'm just going to sit and wish it to come through. And
Yeah.
there's doing in the being. So a lot of people talk about the being part, but there's actual doing. And part of it is like, you don't not expect your cake to come out of the oven if you just
Mhm.
mix the ingredients and put it in the oven. It's
Right.
just that simple.
So I want to hit on another part of this. So the Rubik's Cube, there's a story in my book, The Art of Accomplishment, talks about a gentleman that wanted to solve the cube, but he wanted to do it without any outside help. It took him 27 years to solve the cube. And this was in a time of
Wow.
YouTube. So he could have solved it and learned from somebody else, but he decided he wanted to do it on his own. And for 27 years, practiced and finally found the
Mm,
algorithm. But his life has passed, right? For 27 years. And sometimes there are people doing exactly what we want to be doing that have the algorithm that instead of us having to come up with the recipe, we can go follow their recipe to create that baked cake. I can go on today and find Betty Crocker or
yeah.
anybody else and follow their recipe and I have a cake, or I can do it on my own. But until you have a clear vision, right? I want a cake. That's as hard as it needs to be. Then any recipe will do because you don't know what you're baking, right? But I love what you said about the timing is we don't know the timing. Some things we do. Sometimes we know what the algorithm is and how long it takes to bake a cake. But some of these creations,
Right.
like Emily Dickinson, you might not ever see the results in your lifetime. Vincent van Gogh sold, like I said, one painting in his lifetime. So are you going to approach
Right.
it and still give the activity even if you never saw the results of your behaviors? And that's a big question for people. Can you
Right.
can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I think, well, two things. I love that analogy of the skew. I didn't know that one. And it's part of it is understanding that the results don't really matter. Two things I'll
Mm,
say to that. One is, with corporate companies, for instance, they set like a 5-year goal,
right.
and they almost never hit it.
Mm,
Sometimes they either go completely over, and sometimes they go a completely different way,
yeah.
because the idea is just setting a goal and becoming the person that you're becoming in the process of doing the thing. So
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure like you've had many instances where you thought you're going a certain way and all of a sudden you were walking to that place that you wanted to be,
Yep.
but there was a shift and you ended up completely different way, and that goes back to on a completely different path, and that goes
Right.
back to what we started off saying with the surrender part,
Right.
because it's like playing God. If I set goals and I'm like, this has to be it, then how do you know? How do you know that this is your big purpose? Like I didn't know I'm going to be a life coach working with people on powerful presence or helping them. Like I didn't know I'm going to have to go through this journey to actually see that the answers are a combination of the inner work and the external work, because part of it, when I started realizing, oh, there's law of resonance and law of attraction, I'm just going to go and wish myself to be different.
Yes.
But now, and this is in my early stages of the game, I'm actually learning that I have to learn so much more. I have to learn about systems and business and marketing and international growth. And
Right.
so I'm still evolving to becoming a whole different person, that I'm I'm peeling the onions of the layers of the onion of what's possible. And
Right.
that's the beauty. So um
And
Dan Martell
some
was
of it,
asked, do
yeah,
you
go
think
ahead.
you need to be do you think you need money to be happy? And he said, absolutely. This is a not very common answer, but he said, yes, because when you get to the goal, you realize you don't need it. But
Mm,
you have to get to that place to understand, oh, you connect the dots looking backwards. You're like,
Steve
oh,
Jobs.
this
Yeah.
is what it was all about. So
Right.
that's the surrender.
I like that. So, but you notice that there are things that you have to learn along the way, and you have to go and figure out the algorithm. But like the Rubik's Cube, you don't have to figure out the algorithm because somebody has already done it. So you need to go practice what they taught you, right? Until you can solve it for yourself. And so I think that's where we get hung up, is we want to do it perfectly. We don't want to go through the process of learning. If you had to look back on all the dots that connected for you to get to where you are today, and you knew every dot that had to be connected for you to get to where you are today, do you think you would have taken the steps to create where you are today if you knew everything you had to do?
Wow. You know, it's fun. Usually people, when you're asked, oh, I wouldn't change a thing. No, I would. I would change a few
Yeah.
things. um, I think I would, if I knew then what I know now, I would just get a grip a little bit earlier. Um, because that's the one thing that if I could share, like, to youngsters or people that are like, there's the growth part, the learning about yourself, the
Mm.
learning about what's possible. That is like the one thing that is, it's transformative.
Can
That's
you
why they
say
call it.
can you say that again because
Yeah.
you cut out?
Oh,
Yep.
sorry. It's the learning part about the personal growth,
Mm.
because it took me a long time. It was many years of trying to heal past experiences versus the actual doing the work, versus
Beautiful.
the
Beautiful.
you know
Yeah.
get a grip. And I have a podcast. I don't do it as often, as unfortunately, because I travel, but the name of it is No One Is Coming, the Answer Is You.
Mm.
And I just find that if I knew then what I know now, that it's about me, and it's
Mm.
about me pulling myself together, not in I'm not beating myself up that I'm not doing enough, or not working hard enough, or not learning. But we can create so much
Mm.
if we just allow ourselves to be the little child that's learning,
Yeah.
to, like you said, to get the help, to find the community, to see what else is possible, not to compare ourselves, to know that we're on our own journey.
Yeah.
And the surrender part, the trusting part, the knowing that it all falls into place looking back,
Yeah.
that's just magical.
And it happens, right? We're able to solve these things because we allow, either somebody to teach us, or we learn the way, or it appears the way it needs to. See, we're not responsible for all that. What we're responsible for is this person here and who we're being. And when you realize your power, you realize I can create anything, anything. So what would I like to create? And you don't have to know how. But if you don't know how, you also don't have to make it up, right? Especially if somebody's out there doing what you want to be doing, you can follow their path and create the same thing and save yourself a lot of time. But you're coming back to, it doesn't matter like who you were. That is just,
Right.
when it comes up and you have a trauma get in the
Right.
way, then
And
address it,
that's the humbling part.
right? Yeah, go into that. The humbling part of being able to move forward when you were something else, or what do you mean by that?
Just allowing yourself not to know. We
Hmm.
think we should know it all. We think we should be perfect. We think we should,
Hmm.
put out the perfect post, or put out, or sell the product when it's 100%, or do the perfect podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm looking at myself, even now, this is vulnerable, just because we're putting ourselves out there. The reception is crap. I
Yeah.
can, it's all
Yeah.
choppy. Um, it's not going to be perfect. There's so
Right.
much going on in my head right now about, like, the fact that, I should have, been in a better place with better reception. I should have planned my journey better. I should have prepared. And it is what
Yeah.
it is. It's like, what am I going to do about
Yeah.
it?
This is such a great lesson right here, because how often does it go the way you thought it should go? It it rarely goes the way we think it should go. All we know is the outcome, but getting there sometimes is so messy, and the timing of it, we don't know the timing of it. And there's no perfection. It's just, here's the redefinition of the word perfection. It comes from the Latin perfecere. It means to perform and to complete. And if you look at our podcast today, we're
Mm.
performing it and we're going to finish it, and it's not going to be flawless. In fact, it's everything but flawless, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. And it's, when I sometimes when I look at back, I have clients that are, selling, and, some of them, even have a hard time getting their first client. And I'm like, or they celebrate, like, they just got their first client, right? And they're
Yeah.
like, okay, so it's just one, but I have to get 10. I'm like, you're never going to have a first client ever again. Like,
Mm.
this time where, I'm doing international podcasts, I'm going to have this story, right? It's a chapter in our lives where we
That's
say,
awesome.
oh, I remember that podcast with Nick. It was just so raw and
Yeah.
unfiltered, and
Yeah.
not flawless. but and we're going to get to the polished. We're going to get to the perfect. And even then it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's no point. Like, the only thing I can do is come out with a smile and know that, this was an amazing experience. Me freezing my ass off, shivering, with no reception and rain pouring on my head while I'm doing this
And,
podcast.
and show up anyway, right? And you gave this is
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
this whole podcast is a lesson. Like, it is literally, this is the way, because technology failed and you got back on. Technology failed and you kept going. And all we knew is that we were going to create a podcast by the end of this, but we didn't know the technology was going to fail, but we were adaptable and we kept going. And that's what it looks like to create your dream, is you just have to keep going. Is that accurate, Ofri?
Right. Oh, so accurate. And I think
Mm,
part of it is, if we, we go full circle, and what I do is I work on the Powerful Presence International Leadership. And to me, leadership is leading. Yes, I can deal with corporate leaders and so forth, but to me, leadership is leading your life. And how do you do that? You show up powerfully, present
mm,
and powerfully, because leading your life is just taking charge and saying, this is my life. I got one, as far as I know, I got one this time around, and I'm going to make the damn best I can do from it and with it and
yes.
through it. And and that is leadership, showing up when it's messy, showing up when it's uncomfortable, showing up when it's difficult, showing up when it's,
Mm,
plateau. Just keep showing up. and keep showing up powerfully and be fully present, authentically present, because there's only one like you in the whole world, as far as I know,
Yeah.
unless you have an identical twin. And even that, if you have an identical twin, it's still a different DNA. Um,
Yeah. Yep.
and and that is magnetic, because a lot of people, myself included, don't know how to do that.
Hmm. And you also demonstrated here that you can still create, and your anxiety can be present, and your frustrations can be present, and your depression can be present. It didn't stop us from creating a show, and it's not going to stop you from creating the dream that you have just because those things are present. I think the imposter syndrome comes in when we think we shouldn't have those things, but no, it's like we feel all of those things and we continue to create anyway, right?
Right, right. And it's so funny because we we as humans, we have this judgmental, we judge, right? We
Hmm.
judge everything, but we also judge our emotions,
Yeah.
because if our emotions are like the broad spectrum of colors, then we like the red and the pink and the bright yellow. We don't
Mhm.
like the brown and the gray and the black. So we say, well, if I have a rainbow that's just red and pink and yellow, then I will show it. But take away the blues, take away the grays, take away
Mm,
the blacks.
yeah.
So I have an emotion, and I'm saying, I can't go through this. If this is
Mm,
coming up, then it's not worthy. No, it's just part of the spectrum. White has all colors. You're always white, you're always light, you're always bright.
mm,
So just know that it's part of what is going through. It's part of the human experience. It's I'm it's actually my father's birthday today, and he passed away a year and a half ago.
mm,
And I remember sitting with my friend just after, and he's a really, really good friend of mine, and we laugh all the time when we're together. He makes me really, like, he's hysterical. And I told him, this is insane. Like, the pain that I was feeling
mm,
was so raw and new. I was like, it's almost like I've never felt this alive. It's a whole new spectrum of emotions that I got to experience through this very
mm,
painful experience. But don't judge your anxiety. Don't judge your depression. Just look at it and say, wow, I'm
mm.
I'm living a human experience.
I like that. I like that. Well, free, can you tell people about your free gift?
Oh yeah, cool. So I created this really practical, powerful presence leadership workbook, which is basically, I also have a deck of cards that you can download. It's on my bio in my Instagram account, that you can just print off as a PDF form. But it's basically tools, because a lot of people get caught in either the limiting beliefs or their nervous systems. So it's tools for the mindset, it's tools for breathing techniques, and it's tools for powerful poses, powerful postures that can align you both from the inside out and the outside in. So if you're in
Mm,
front of, like, either a presentation, a sales, a job interview, or just, a date, and you just want to have that instant boost. So there's a lot of practical tools and some mindset and some really cool quotes from really inspiring people, just to get you some practical tools to get yourself going. And that's like any workout. That's something you can use over and over and over again, and just build that new identity of powerful presence.
I love it. So if you type in leadership in the comments, we can get it that way. You can go over to
Yeah.
ofrifuchs.com, right? Slash English, EN for English, right?
Yeah, they can go on my website or just follow me on Instagram and just type in leadership, and I'll send that over to you.
Okay, awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing what you did today. Even with the tech failures, it's a failure is just a negative yield
We
from
made
your
it
efforts.
through.
Yeah, we made it through. So Andy wants a copy of that. Um, is there
Lovely.
anything that you wanted to share that maybe we didn't cover? Anything coming to mind?
Just, you know, just have at it. Life is short, and no one's watching. I keep telling my kids, nobody cares about you. And I say that in the most loving way. Nobody
Yeah.
cares about you. So
Yeah.
start caring about yourself and, go dance in the rain and live your life fully,
Yeah.
and experience everything, the dirty, the messy, the ugly. Experience you. And I love you.
Yeah. I think that that beautiful statement that no one is coming is the most beautiful statement there is, because it really returns the power to us. We do have the power to create anything, and now it just starts with what would you like to create, right? Just go out there and create. So as we wrap
Yeah.
up here, even with the technical issues, we made it through an amazing show. There's a lot of gold packed in this. If you look at the process of this is the process of creation. And so, for those that are watching, thank you for persisting with us through the end of this show. If you know somebody that could
Yeah.
benefit
Appreciate it.
from this show, please share the link with them. Come over to YouTube and subscribe so that you can see when we go live every single dang time. We appreciate you. Go make it a giant day, and we will see you in the next video. Take care.